What's up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA Network Plus N10-007 certification. So let's get into it. In this video, you're going to learn about network mitigation techniques such as signature management, changing native VLANs, switch port protection, network segmentation, privileged user accounts, file integrity monitoring, role separation, restricting access via ACLs, honeypots and honeynets, and penetration testing. Let's talk about signature management. So a signature is a set of rules that an IDS and an IPS use to detect typical intrusion activity, such as DOS attacks. Signatures can be easily installed using IDS, IPS management software. Sensors enable you to modify existing signatures and define new ones. As sensors scan network packets, they use signatures to detect known attacks and respond with predefined actions. A malicious packet flow has a specific type of activity and signature, and an IDS or IPS sensor examines the data flow using many different signatures. When an IDS or IPS sensor matches a signature with a data flow, the sensor takes action, such as logging the event or sending an alarm to IDS or IPS management software. Let's talk about change native VLAN. So a native VLAN exists in the case of the 802.1q encapsulation, which supports untagged traffic. This makes it possible for your VLAN to support legacy devices that do not tag their traffic, like some wireless access points and simple network attached devices. Traffic that arrives at a trunk port without an existing VLAN tag gets associated with the native VLAN. When it comes to the management aspect of a native VLAN, it is recommended that a network admin configure the VLAN to another number other than VLAN 1, because typically VLAN 1 is the default configuration of a Cisco switch for management protocols. So configuring the native VLAN to be another number other than 1, like VLAN 999, this will help to separate user traffic from network management traffic. Let's talk about switch port protection. And the first one we're going to talk about is called spanning tree protocol. So spanning tree protocol prevents loops from being formed when switches or bridges are interconnected via multiple paths. To avoid the problems associated with redundant links in a switch LAN, STP is implemented on switches to monitor the network topology. Every link between switches, and in particular redundant links, are cataloged. The STP algorithm then blocks forwarding on redundant links by setting up one preferred link between switches in the LAN. This preferred link is used for all Ethernet frames unless it fails, in which case a non-preferred redundant link is enabled. When implemented in a network, STP designates one layer 2 switch as a root bridge. All switches then select their best connection towards the root bridge for forwarding and blocking other redundant links. All switches constantly communicate with their neighbors in the LAN using bridge protocol data units. Next, we have a flood guard, and these are tools that you can use to prevent DOS attacks. This technology is typically built into network equipment such as routers and intrusion prevention equipment. It is designed to detect network floods and then block this traffic. Flood guards help block malicious traffic from entering a network. Then we have the BPDU guard, or the Bridge Protocol Data Unit Guard. So a BPDU, this is a data message transmitted across a LAN to detect loops in network topologies. A BPDU contains information regarding ports, switches, port priority, and addresses. BPDUs contain the information necessary to configure and maintain spanning tree protocol. They are not forwarded by switches, but the information is used by the switches to calculate their own BPDUs for information passing. Then we have a root guard. So root guards are useful in avoiding layer 2 loops during network anomalies. The root guard forces an interface to become a designated port to prevent surrounding switches from becoming a root switch. In other words, a root guard provides a way to enforce the root bridge placement in the network. The root guard feature prevents a designated port from becoming a root port. If a port on which the root guard features receives a superior BPDU, it moves the port into a root inconsistent state, which is effectively equal to a listening state, thus maintaining the current root bridge status. Then we have DHCP snooping. So DHCP snooping, this is a series of techniques applied to improve the security of a DHCP infrastructure. DHCP servers allocate IP addresses to clients on a LAN. DHCP snooping can be configured on LAN switches to exclude rogue DHCP servers and remove malicious or malformed DHCP traffic. In addition, information on hosts which have successfully completed a DHCP transaction is accrued in a database of bindings, which may then be used by other security or accounting features. Let's talk about network segmentation. So the first one we're going to talk about is the DMZ, and this stands for Demilitarized Zone. So a DMZ, which is also known as a perimeter network or a screen subnet, this is a physical or logical subnetwork that contains and exposes an organization's external facing services to an untrusted, usually larger network such as the internet. The purpose of a DMZ is to add an additional layer of security to an organization's LAN to where an external node can access only what is exposed in the DMZ, while the rest of the organization's network is firewalled. The DMZ functions as a small isolated network positioned between the internet and the private network, and if its design is effective, allows the organization extra time to detect and address breaches before they would further penetrate into the internal networks. Then we have a VLAN, or a virtual local area network. So a VLAN, this is any broadcast domain that is partitioned and isolated in the computer network at the data link layer, or OSI layer 2. So LAN, this is the abbreviation for local area network, and in this context, virtual refers to a physical object created and altered by additional logic. VLANs work by applying tags to network frames and handling these tags in networking systems, creating the appearance and functionality of network traffic that is physically on a single network but acts as if it is split between separate networks. In this way, VLANs can keep network applications separate despite being connected to the same physical network and without requiring multiple sets of cabling and networking devices to be deployed. Privileged user accounts. So a privileged user account, this is an account that has more privileges than ordinary users. Privileged accounts might be able to install or remove software, upgrade the operating system, or modify system or application configurations. They might also have access to files that are not normally accessible to standard users. And there are many kinds of privileged user accounts, and some of them are as follows. You have a root and administrator account, also known as a super user, and this is typically used for installing and removing software and changing configurations. You have service accounts. These are used for running processes such as web servers, database servers, and application servers. And then you have system accounts. These are used for running operating system components and owning related files. File integrity monitoring. So this is an internal control or process that performs the act of validating the integrity of operating systems and application software files using a verification method between the current file state and a known good baseline. This comparison method often involves calculating a known cryptographic checksum of the file's original baseline and comparing it with the calculated checksum of the current state of the file. Other file attributes can also be used to monitor integrity. Generally, the act of performing file integrity monitoring is automated using internal controls such as an application or process. Such monitoring can be performed randomly at defined polling intervals or in real time. Changes to configurations, files, and file attributes across the IT infrastructure are common, but hidden within a large volume of daily changes can be the few that impact file or configuration integrity. These changes can also reduce security posture and in some cases may be leading indicators of a breach in progress. And values monitored for unexpected changes to files or configuration items include the following. You have credentials, privilege and security settings, content, core attributes and size, hash values, and configuration values. Let's talk about role separation, which is also known as separation of privileges. And this is an IT best practice applied to organizations to broadly separate users and processes based on different levels of trust, needs, and privilege requirements. And separation of privileges refers to both the segmentation of user privileges across various separate users and accounts and compartmentalization of privileges across various applications or system components, tasks, and processes. And similar to the concept of network segmentation, role separation essentially creates barriers around specific parts of an IT environment. It helps contain intruders close to the point of compromise and restricts lateral movement while also ensuring that employees' applications and system processes do not have access to more data than they need. Segmenting privileges and the tasks associated with them also provides the benefit of a cleaner audit trail and simplifying compliance. Restricting access via ACLs or access control lists. So an access control list, this is a set of rules that is usually used to filter network traffic. ACLs can be configured on network devices with packet filtering capabilities, such as routers and firewalls. ACLs contain a list of conditions that categorize packets and help determine when to allow or deny network traffic. They are applied on the interface basis to packets leaving or entering an interface. ACLs also can list permissions associated with a system resource or object. These types of ACLs specify which users or system processes are granted access to objects, as well as what operations are allowed on given objects. Then we have honeypots and honey-nets. So honeypots, these are a type of deception technology that allows network and system administrators to understand attacker behavior patterns. Security teams can use honeypots to investigate cybersecurity breaches to collect intel on how cyber criminals operate. They also reduce the risk of false positives when compared to traditional cybersecurity measures because they are unlikely to attract legitimate activity. A honeynet is a decoy network that contains one or more honeypots. It looks like a real network and contains multiple systems, but is hosted on one or only a few servers, each representing one environment. So for example, a Windows honeypot machine, a Mac honeypot machine, and a Linux honeypot machine. A quote-unquote honey wall, this monitors the traffic going in and out of the network and directs it to the honeypot instances. There, vulnerabilities can be injected into the honeynet to make it easy for an attacker to access the trap. And then we have penetration testing. So a penetration test, also known as a pen test or ethical hacking, this is an authorized simulated cyber attack on a computer system performed to evaluate the security of the system. And this is not to be confused with a vulnerability assessment. The test is performed to identify weaknesses, including the potential for unauthorized parties to gain access to the system's features and data, as well as strengths, enabling a full risk assessment to be completed. The process typically identifies the target system in a particular goal, then reviews available information and undertakes various means to attain that goal. A penetration test may be a white box, which is about which background and system information are provided in advance to the tester, or it may be a black box in which only basic information, if any, other than the company name is provided. A gray box penetration test, this is a combination of the two where limited knowledge of the target is shared with the auditor, and a penetration test can help identify systems vulnerabilities to attack and estimate how vulnerable the system actually is. All right, now it's time for some of this outstanding check on learning. So the first question is, which is a mitigation technique that uses fake systems to attract attackers to collect intel on how cyber criminals operate? Would it be an ACL, a honeynet, VLAN, or a DMZ? So which one of these is a fake system that is designed to attract cyber criminals? And the correct answer is this would be a honeynet. So remember, a honeynet is basically a fake network comprised of a bunch of honeypots, where a honeypot are just individual systems. Next question. Which mitigation technique is used to prevent loops from being formed within a network? Would it be STP, BPDU, DHCP, or VLAN? So which one of these is used to prevent loops from being formed within a network? And the correct answer is this will be STP, or Spanning Tree Protocol. Next question. Which mitigation technique purposely hires people to break into a network to find vulnerabilities? Would this be DHCP snooping, network segmentation, file integrity monitoring, or penetration testing? So which one of these hires people to break into a network to find issues with the network? And the correct answer is this would be penetration testing. So in summary, we have talked about network mitigation techniques such as signature management, changing native VLANs, switch port protection, network segmentation, privileged user accounts, file integrity monitoring, role separation, restricting access via ACLs, honeypots and honeynets, and penetration testing. Now, if you felt like you've gotten something valuable out of this information, go ahead and hit the like button, share button, drop a comment, but most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Also, go check out my website, Technology G, so that you can get read up on the latest and greatest to help you successfully pass the CompTIA Network Plus N10-007 certification. And until next video, ladies and gentlemen, peace.